We owned the night. But man rose up against us.
Stunlock Studios' new game V Rising has been hailed for its vampiric gothic aesthetic, survival gameplay, and innovative PvP/PvE setting. In fact, it sold over 1.5 million copies within the first 2 weeks of its early access release. Though there are similarities to other survival games like Conan Exiles, Ark, and Valheim, V Rising offers a unique take on a vampire survival experience unlike anything else. Ready to embrace your dark side? Let's go over 5 things V Rising does right and 3 areas where there's room for improvement. Every survival game has some backstory and lore to explain exactly why you're stuck on your own, scratching trees for scraps of wood. And in V Rising's case, searching for sources of blood because, you're a vampire. The quest for blood is definitely unique in V Rising. Unlike other vampire games like Vampire, which require experience to unlock buffs and perks, every creature and human in V Rising, besides the undead, trees, and golems, have a blood type and blood percentage players can inherit. Players will feast on humans and creatures to not only stay alive, but obtain higher attack speed, faster skill cooldowns, and better regen. For example, Brute blood type will give players life leech and self-heals, while Scholar blood type will increase spell power while reducing cooldowns. Depending on playstyle, players will ultimately develop a taste for blood. Delicious. In addition to feasting on humans and creatures to obtain buffs perks, players also evolve by learning new recipes, powers, and skills by draining the blood of S-tier humans. These blood bosses come in all shapes and sizes and can give the player the ability to shapeshift, use poison or frost, spin up spectral golem, and much more. Mix and match abilities to suit your playstyle, and be sure to consider which ones to use when up against a tough boss, as you only have 2 slots to work with. Weapons also come with up to 3 different abilities based on their type and level. All of this adds up to fantastic combinations to ultimately decimate bosses or some poor abandoned encampment nearby with just way too much coarse thread on their hands. I'll take all you have and maybe grab a snack too. With enough abilities, you'll really feel invincible against enemies and blood bosses whom you'll need to feast on to grow in power. What's more, there's a wide variety of items, abilities, and skills you can get from blood bosses. In certain vampire lore, drinking blood allows you to inherit the memories and knowledge of your victim. So Beatrice the Tailor, for example, lets you become human, i.e. walk among humans undetected, and provides the plans for a tailoring bench, which you can use to make better armor. Kill Quincy the Bandit King to unlock your ultimate, new structures, and iron weapons. Moreover, knowledge inherited from blood bosses are necessary to traverse lands, fight stronger humans, and level up your castle to reflect the badass vampire you are. This in turn will level up your gear and make you well prepared for the next blood boss or humans as you continue to explore the lands of Vardoran. And some of these bosses can be pretty tough, packing a punch that'll leave your head spinning. Juggling all of V Rising's abilities, weapons, and skills in order to give you the upper hand in its frenetic combat sequences is a lot of fun. Throwing weapons like the Iron Axe or Reaper will deal damage from a distance, while weapons like a sword or spear have additional bonus damage to creatures. Adding abilities like Chaos, Poison, and Frost to the mix can ultimately make for some incredibly fun combinations that will have players feeling invincible. Now, I totally get why Carmilla in Netflix's Castlevania series was so high off her own horse. It feels amazing to be so badass. And on nights when the blood moon is out, players will gain an additional boosting effect on their current blood type, an increase to movement speed, and an additional boost to damage, so these nights are opportune times to defeat harder blood bosses, ransack a stronger village, or invade a castle. V Rising's vast world is crawling with horrors, dangers, and surprises as players travel through lush forests, garlic-infested countrysides, or mystical caverns to find materials to level up. Each area opens up a slew of opportunities and wonders, and its environment is totally dynamic. Almost everything can be destroyed, dropping resources and materials for crafting. There is a lot to explore, which makes finding a horse that much more imperative. And sun damage really plays a part in V Rising's exploration exploration and player growth. You have to always be cautious, strategic, and nimble everywhere you go, or you'll find yourself burning to death or ambushed without a moment's notice. Every day in V Rising brings many dangers, from vampire hunters to other blood bosses who will roam roads with a large posse, turning a simple stroll into a fight for life or death. This dynamic gameplay really makes every moment in the game unique and honestly terrifyingly fun. Though V Rising has some key aspects that make it a lot of fun to play, there are some things that could use some fine-tuning. Since the dawn of Dracula, vampires have rested in coffins waiting for night to fall before traversing the lands to feast. V Rising's coffins offer the same respite, but there's no fast-forwarding in time if players want to skip the day and, death. Though one can imagine that vampires may have impatiently waited in coffins too. Maybe this is a realistic perspective of the game. Maybe not. The point is that I sometimes find myself with 30 minutes to kill because I don't want to go into the daylight. And 30 minutes stuck in a coffin isn't a whole lot of fun. Plus, while you're in your coffin, you still lose blood from your blood pool. Stunlock is still planning to make updates to V Rising, so hopefully this aspect of it is patched sooner rather than later. Or maybe they'll keep it for realism's sake. There's a point in the game where players can take on servants. This is done by charming humans and then transforming them into vampire servants who later roam the halls of your castle, protecting it and making a mess. Once a castle throne is built, you may send them off to attack camps to gather resources, provided that they are well equipped for the camp's level. Though this is pretty clever, I would have liked to see servants follow in hunts on horseback and defend their vampire masters when enchanted or transformed beyond the castle walls. This could also serve to make PvP and PvE more compelling by encouraging players to build up stronger vampire armies. Imagine charging with a horde of vampire servants into castles or towns. Totally badass. It's not a vampire survival game if you can't pimp out your castle to such a degree that Dracula's would look like a cheap motel in comparison. V Rising's building aesthetic is very vampire. Think braziers of different colors, gaudy furnishings, and embellished carpets to personalize your castle. V Rising offers a lot to make each domain unique to its master, however, building has the capacity to facilitate truly vast epic structures. Other survival games like Ark and Conan Exiles offer a wide variety of tools to truly allow players to creatively build things like a recreation of Hogwarts Castle or other massive structures. There is so much more potential in V Rising's building tools, but considering there currently is no option to build above the first floor, puts my dreams of building a castle like Alucard in Castlevania on hold. Let me know in the comments what you like or don't like about V Rising. For all your vampire entertainment and gaming news, stick to IGN.
Choking down dust. Starving. Until now, our hunt begins again.